So today I'm going to discuss my solution about the given problem or given equation. So the number one is if cosine theta is equals to 24 over 5 and theta is in quadrant 4, find the other 5 trigonometric function of theta. So the given is cosine theta is equals to 24 over 25. So this is my solution. So cosine theta is equals to adjacent over hypotenuse. So, given man ang adjacent and hypotenuse, so atong pangitaon lang is the opposite. So, that is my drawing or graph. The adjacent is 24 and the hypotenuse is 25 and the missing is opposite. So, in order to find the opposite, we need to use the formula of Pythagorean theorem. The c squared is equals to a squared plus b squared. So, our c squared is 25 and our a is 0 because we don't have a opposite, and then our hypotenuse is or our b squared is 24, the adjacent. So let's substitute the value of c squared. The value of c is 25 squared and the value of a is 0 and the value of b is 24. So the equation will become 25 squared is equals to 0 squared plus 24 squared. And then 25 squared is equals to 625. And then 24 squared is 576. So our equation will become 625 equals to 0 squared plus 576, then transpose. So our equation will become 625 minus 576 equals 0 squared. And then subtract 625 to 576 and it's equals to 49. And then square root the both side, the 49 and 0 squared to cancel the square root of 0. So the square root of 49 is 7. So that's our opposite, 7. So katawa, sine is equals to 7 over 25 because sine is equals to opposite over hypotenuse and tangent is equals to opposite over adjacent. So our tangent is equals to 7 over 24, and then the secant is equals to hypotenuse over opposite. So our secant is equals to 25 over 7, and our cosecant is equals to hypotenuse over adjacent. So our cosecant is equals to 25 over 24, and our cotangent is equals to adjacent over opposite. So our cotangent is equals to 24 over 7. Then let's proceed to problem number 2. Express secant theta minus sine theta tangent theta as a single function of theta. So the given is secant theta minus sine theta tangent theta. So this is my solution. First, we need to find the equivalent of secant theta. So the equivalent of secant theta is 1 over cosine theta, and then copy minus sine theta, and the equivalent of tangent theta is sine theta over cosine theta, and then multiply sine theta to sine theta over cosine theta. So the equation will become 1 over cosine theta minus sine squared theta over cosine theta. And then combine, so our equation will become 1 minus sine squared theta over cosine theta. So if you subtracted 1 to sine squared theta, the equivalent is cosine squared theta. So our equation will become cosine squared theta over cosine theta. So cosine then cancel cosine squared theta and cosine theta. So ang mabilin is cosine theta, and then that's the answer, cosine theta. So number 3, express tangent squared x minus secant squared x in terms of sine x and cosine x, and simplify. So this is my solution. Tangent squared x minus secant squared x. So the equivalent of tangent squared x is sine x over cosine x, and the equivalent of secant squared x is 1 over cosine squared x. And then combine the sine squared x and 1, so it will become, the equation will become sine squared x minus 1 over cosine squared x. And then if you subtracted sine squared x to 1, the equivalent is negative cosine squared x, and then over cosine squared x. Then divide, so negative cosine 2x over cosine 2x is equals to negative 1. The number 4, find the exact value of cosine 5 pi over 12. So this is my solution. If there is pi, you need to multiply it to 180 degree over pi. Then so our equation will become cosine 5 pi over 12 quantity 180 degree over pi is equals to 900 degree over 12, because cancel the pi, then 5 times 180 is equals to 900, and copy 12, and then cosine of 900 degree over 12 is equals to cosine 75 degree, because 900 degree divided by 12 is 75 degree, and then cosine of 75 degree is equals to 0.2588. So that's the answer. Number 5, express a is equals to a cosine 270 degree minus theta, and b tangent pi plus x as function of theta or x alone. So this is my solution. The given in A is cosine quantity 270 degree minus theta. We use the formula cosine A minus B is equals to cosine A cosine B plus sine A and sine B. So let's assume that our A is 275 degree and our B is theta. Then substitute the value of A and B, so our equation will become cosine of 270 degree cosine theta plus sine 270 degree and sine theta, and then multiply cosine to 275 degrees. So cosine multiplied to 275 degrees is equals to 0. Then copy cosine theta, and then sine multiplied to 270 degree is equals to negative 1. Copy sine theta. So 0 multiplied to cosine theta is equals to 0, and then negative 1 multiplied to sine theta is equals to negative sine theta. So that's the answer to A. And then let's proceed to B. Tan quantity pi plus x. So we used the formula tan A plus B is equals tan A plus tan B over 1 minus tan A tan B. So let's assume that our A is pi and our B is x. And then substitute the value of A and B. So our equation become tan pi, tangent pi plus tangent x over 1 minus tangent pi tangent x. So tangent pi is equals to 0. Then copy tangent x over 1 minus 0 because tangent pi is equals to 0. Then copy tangent x. So 0 plus tangent x is equals to tangent x. Then 1 minus 0, first we need to multiply 0 to tangent. So it will become 0. 1 minus 0 is equals 1. Then tangent x over 1 is equals to tangent x. So that's the answer, tangent x. And then let's proceed to number 6. Used a half angle identity to find the exact value of sine quantity negative 22.5 degree. So this is my solution. So we use the half angle formula, the sine x over 2 is equals to positive negative square root of 1 minus cosine theta over 2. So first we need to find the angle. So in order to find the angle, we need to divide, I multiply both sides by 2. So cancel 2. Ang mabilin is theta is equals to negative 22.5 degree multiplied by 2. So 22.5 degree multiplied by 2 is equals to negative 45. So our equation will become theta equals negative 45. And then we're going to solve the angle. So we need to substitute the value of theta. So our equation will become sine quantity theta over 2 is equals to negative square root of 1 minus cosine negative 45 over 2 because we substitute the value of theta and the negative 45. And then the value of the equivalent of cosine negative 45 is square root of 2 over 2. So our equation will become square root of 1 minus square root of 2 over 2 over 2. And then I multiply both sides by 2, the top and down. And then square root of 1 minus square root of 2 over 2 over all over 2, cancel the 2, and then 2 times 1 is 2, and then copy square root of 2. 2 times 2 is 4, and then I multiplied 2 to 2 minus square root of 2 over 4, and then the answer is sine theta over 2 is equals to negative 2 minus square root of 2 over 2. So the exact value of sine theta over 2 is 0.3827, and also the value of 2 minus square root of 2 over 2 is equals to 0.3827, and also the value of sine negative 22.5 degree is equals to 0.3827. So number 9, so the direction is verify that each equation is an identity. So number 9, so the equation is secant squared b is equals to 1 over 1 minus sine squared b. So my solution is, so the equivalent of second squared b is 1 over 1 minus sine squared b. So it is equal to 1 minus 1 sine squared b. So the statement is true. So if alternative, so the second squared b equivalent also is 1 over cosine b squared, and the equivalent of 1 minus 1 sine squared b is equals also to 1 over cosine b squared. So it is also equal, so the statement is true. So number 10. The equation is cosine 2a is equals to cotangent a minus tangent a over cosecant a secant a. So this is my solution. So cotangent a, the equivalent of cotangent a is equals to cosine a over sine a, and the equivalent of tangent a is sine a over cosine a, and then the equivalent of cosecant a is equals to 1 over sine a, and the equivalent of secant a is equals to 1 over cosine a. And then we combine, so the equation will become cosine a squared minus sine a squared over sine a cosine a over 1 and sine over a and cosine a. And then cosine a squared minus sine a squared is equals to cosine 2a, that is the equivalent. And then the identity is true. Number 11. So the equation is tan squared x minus sine squared x is equals to tangent x sine x squared. So this is my solution. So the equivalent of tangent squared x is equals to sine x over cosine. So tangent is squared, so squared man. And then copy sine x squared, and then is equals to the equivalent of tangent x is sine x over cosine x, and copy sine x, then squared, and then sine x times sine x is equals to sine x squared, and cosine times cosine x is equals to cosine x squared, and then copy sine x squared, and then multiply sine x to sine x, so the equation will become sine x squared over cosine quantity squared, and then copy sine x squared over cosine x squared minus sine x squared, and then square the sine x squared over cosine x, then the answer is sine x to the fourth power over cosine x squared, and then copy, then equals to 0, so the equation will become sine x squared over cosine x squared minus sine x squared minus sine x to the fourth power over cosine x squared, and then combine, so the equation will become sine x squared minus cosine x squared sine x squared minus sine x to the fourth power over cosine x squared, and then sine x squared minus cosine x squared sine x squared minus sine x to the fourth power is equals to 0, and then the copy sine x squared, and then the equivalent of cosine x squared is 1 minus sine x squared, then copy sine x squared, then copy also sine x to the fourth power, and then copy sine x squared, then multiply 1 minus sine x squared to sine x squared, so the answer is sine x squared minus sine x to the fourth power, then copy sine x to the fourth power is equals to 0, and then ang negative sign i-multiply ta. So do positive nga sign magiging negative, so the equation will become sine x squared minus sine x squared plus sine x to the fourth power minus sine x to the fourth power is equals to 0. So 0 is equals to 0, so the statement is true. So number 12, the equation is tan x minus cotangent x over tangent x plus cotangent is equal to 2 sine squared x minus 1. So I rearrange it to mabuol naton dung equivalent nga negative cosine 2x. So the equation will become negative 1 minus 2 quantity sine x quantity squared is equals to the equivalent of tangent is sine x over cosine x, and the equivalent of cotangent is equals to cosine x over sine x over the equivalent also of tan, same, sine x over cosine x, and also the cotangent cosine x over sine x, and then combine. So the equivalent of negative the 1 minus 2 over quantity sine x squared is cosine 2x, so negative copy, and then combine sine x squared minus cosine x squared over cosine x sine x all over sine x squared plus cosine x squared over cosine x sine x. And then based on my calculation, the answer is negative cosine 2x is equals to sine x squared minus cosine x squared over 1. And then if you subtracted sine x squared and negative cos minus 2 cosine x squared, the equivalent is negative cosine 2x. So negative cosine 2x equals to negative cosine 2x. So the statement is true for any value of x. So that's all for my discussion of my solution about the activity or the video presentation about this activity. So that's all. Thank you.